we don't have any mics down here.
Here's Carl.
No mics.
We couldn't start without the boss.
We know where the microphones went.
He's getting them. What, you're charging?
I tell people, it's so exciting to be on a committee with such smart people. Jeff, you're so smart. So smart.
Oh, you know what? We gotta give him, oh, you got the microphones.
Yeah.
I just think, wow, you're really smart.
Karen, you got
Glad you're my
two?
friend because you're
Oh.
really good. Yeah. Good. Well,
I don't know, move into the middle and everybody talk really loud. It won't, you have
Okay, mic's on, everybody.
yeah, we'll have to pass it.
to pass it around.
Here, this is for you. I want you to look at that. You keep that.
You're in charge of that one.
I didn't know I could talk in that room.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Meeting will come to order. Roll call. Want to start over here?
Bunny marker. Denise Barker.
Tim Ruffin. Gary Rattle.
Lori Pritzaloki. Karen Groff.
Hasdell here.
Cindy Lewis.
Jeff Weingart.
Giardino here.
Okay, certify the posting of the meeting.
I certify that on Tuesday, October 14th, 2025, the agenda for the Town of Rome Ad Hoc Committee meeting for Thursday, October 16th was posted at Rome Town Hall at 2:50 p.m., posted at Quick Trip LLC at 3:45 p.m., posted at Nakusa Port Edward State Bank at 3:50 p.m., and emailed to the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune at 2:46 p.m.
Thank you, Cindy. All of you should have or should have received a copy of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I make that motion.
Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's go on to the next item, which is the approval of the October 8 meeting minutes from last time. I think you all got a copy of that prior to today, and if there's no other discussion on that, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on. So, a couple of things that I wanted to say to the group right off the get-go. First of all, Quick Trip will remain neutral. I did talk to their legal person this morning on the phone live after leaving a voicemail. He did give me the email address of both his office and the local, but he said more than likely the store here needs to remain neutral, so we probably would not be able to put a sign on their property.
Yeah, and I spoke with them directly.
I don't think that's on.
It's on.
Okay, I don't hear it. No, it's not on.
And they were told in corporate that they cannot allow the signs, anyone on the front.
I got a couple of things I'd like to kind of put in here before we get too.
Now it is.
I'm gonna play a voicemail that I got this morning from Mike Irwin.
Who's that?
I just got a phone with him.
Where's it?
DCM.
Football was going around and pulling
Hi, Jeff.
some of the solar farm signs. Pulled my mom and dad's on Akron and the ones on 8th Avenue. My dad was checking on the other ones and by our land, which I had way off the road right away on our property. But he's checking on them too. But they were going around pulling.
Someone's pulling the signs?
Well, the Rome Police Department did, they made it a post. The signs are on the road right away.
The police pulled him?
Yes, they made a post this morning.
Yeah, I saw
Ah, okay.
Well, where,
I know DCM's on Akron was definitely on Rome right away.
Oh,
Yep, Mike was complaining, though, he said the one on his property was on his property, and they went and took that one down, so he's gonna have a little chat with him. I told him, go ahead.
Okay.
what are they,
Didn't take down any.
what are they doing with the signs that they're, Lori, what are they doing with the signs they're picking up?
They're in the police department. You can pick them up there.
Okay, well, that certainly brings the end to that one.
Okay, well, we have to be within regulation.
Yep.
Exactly.
So.
Well, we talked about that early on.
Can I got something I'd like to bring up.
One more thing,
Okay.
Vito, and then I'll give you the mic. Okay, so yesterday, there was a town hall meeting with Derek Van Orden. And if you've ever...
I listened to it
Were you,
live.
okay, well, I pushed the button, but I didn't get on.
I did too.
So guess what? I called his Washington office this morning and talked to a real person. Told him the plight and everything. He said, would you like to have a meeting with the congressman? And I said, I would absolutely love having a meeting with the congressman. So he gave me the email address of the woman who's in charge of operations for his office. And I left her a detailed email this morning about what it's about and how we would certainly love to have him come to Rome, or we would come to him to have a conversation about what's going on with the solar farms. And I was amazed that I got to talk to a person, and he was very sympathetic. And he said, "Yeah," he said, "I get it." He said, "You need to talk to the congressman straight up." So I'm going to take that as a, whether or not he'll be able to help us or not, I don't know, but I'm going to take that as a positive that maybe we might get an opportunity to meet with him here or go to Eau Claire, wherever he's.
I'll go with you.
Yeah.
Did anybody else get that call? There was a call, and it said, Dennis. It said Derek Van Orden.
If you've ever reached out to him, you're on their list because I've got him up before.
Okay.
If you've ever sent him an email or anything,
Yes,
you
I
put your
did.
email address,
Okay,
your
okay.
phone number, all that in there, and then boom.
And that's why. So it was a town hall. He was actually on there, and then you press *3, and there was actual people that were. You could hear him talk. So I did the same thing. I'm trying to get through. Okay.
Vito.
All right, we got a couple of things. Tim and I were at the Planning Commission this week, and there's a couple of things I'd like to bring forward to this group here. Karen, over there, has basically set up a town law conference meeting here via the TV or whatever you want it, viral, whatever you call that, or virtual, not viral. Viral's a disease. Virtual.
Or a hot topic on.
We're going to have it, the Planning Commission, they were invited. I want to get this group involved. Basically, what is happening is going to be at 10:45 on October 31st. It's only going to be for about an hour. So that's going to interfere with you guys who want to go trick-or-treating. But anyway, it's presented by a municipal law and litigation group. And the topic is understanding limits of regulating regulatory authority and tips for drafting ordinances of controversial issues. Now, we do have an attorney, but this could be an insight for some of us when you hear someone speaking, and it's not going to cost you anything to hear it, what they're going to recommend. But like Carl, we have our own attorney. We're going to be guiding on, but just
That's his law firm.
pardon me.
That's his law firm.
Oh,
Municipal.
there it is.
Yeah, I guess the big question is, what can you do, what can't you do?
Right,
Who's gonna
right.
Answer.
And I think this might answer give us an insight. We're going to be sitting here, we could watch it and say, oh, wow, okay, what are we up against? What's in our corner? I know Carl's been feeding us information upon speaking with the attorney, but this is just something, October 31st, 10:45, here in the room here. Secondly,
Whoever makes up your agendas, it needs to be noticed, because if there's, a large group of you, it needs to be noticed. Make sure that gets noticed. So that if you show up, you don't have a quorum. I don't know how the group completely functions as an ad hoc committee, but, so you don't have a quorum.
We put a notice out there.
I mean,
The notice
you're
is
right,
on
Karen,
there with
because if the
quorum
planning
issue, so-
commission show up, and if some town board members show up,
Yep, Emily's handling that. The primary topics of discussion during that time frame are gonna be on wake boats, which is not necessarily, you guys' deal, but also, it sounds like wind turbines, so more of that energy stuff.
We are not board members, correct?
No.
So we're not part of that quorum.
yeah, but the planning commission.
Three of us here right now.
This group is
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
ad hoc committee, and you make decisions, and by doing so, if you have more than a majority, you're creating a quorum, so the meeting needs to be noticed, and it's just, just simple.
So is that,
simple
are you
kinda
saying that we all need to be here then, or is that what you're?
No.
no.
It's just called cover your bases. When you put an agenda out there, is what she's saying. So this way people know. So if you put an agenda saying October 31st at 10:45, you know,
Yeah, and it can be just one
That should be in the
agenda
minutes.
and list the various groups that may show up and be at this meeting, and a quorum may be formed. So I
Got it.
I can either have Emily do that or, have,
Wendy.
Wendy do for all the groups that may show up.
Okay.
Because the only ones involved at this point is our group and the planning commission, and there might be like me, Tim, and Carl there, and that'll put a town board quorum. But anyway, getting back now, I got a second thing. In the planning commission, we discussed this, and I brought this up because I'm thinking we have to get ahead of the 8 ball and get ahead of the curve of drafting any kind of zoning ordinances surrounding the solar farm. I think that was important because we know that that's going to be something we have to keep in our corner in the event we don't win this case. Now, I want to say, Tim, you could correct me, Emily, who is the zoning ordinance administrator, stated that she's going to get a list or ordinances from other towns that are in effect in other towns for the solar farms that are enacted now that we can guide upon. But of course, we can't do anything until we come back to the town board because we have an attorney who has to look at this. But we want to get on we want the planning commission involved now to start putting something in effect in the event we need it. And that's why we brought this up. You got anything, Tim?
No, that's right. We just want to get ahead of the game here in case.
South.
Right.
So we got until November 18th, when Emily would come aboard, or maybe Karen with other ordinances, we could look at it, say, look, let's bring this, to Carl and the attorney,
Right.
and then if they say do this, and this, we'll act upon it as a board and come to you at the town board and say, okay, this is what we want in effect because we need to have a plan B in the event we don't we lose this case. We can control the buffer zone. We can control anything ordinance-wise to keep them in check.
Good.
That's where this October 31st meeting comes in that I'm gonna set up in here, is talking about wind turbines. So that's something that can potentially be included in that ordinance.
Oh, yeah.
So that, you're not just talking about solar as an ordinance, you're talking about renewable energy sources that it would include wind turbines or anything else that may turn up to be controversial, right?
Good,
So
good.
that should be incorporated into
And we
that as
should,
well.
and we should change the ordinances, even if they overrule us, we should change the ordinances. I mean, let them make that step. That's just one more piece of armor we have.
And I was thinking maybe some key members or any member of the ad hoc committee here should be at our next planning commission on November 18th at 4 o'clock.
November what?
18th, Tim?
Yeah, 18.
Yeah, we changed the date, November 18th at 4 o'clock. And as we address this issue, you can hopefully, we will give you opportunity to comment. But at that point, we will have something in hand and we can present, say, here, this is what was presented to us. And hopefully it's workable. We could bring it to Carl and the attorney and say, what do you think? And then to the town board. We're moving on something. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, that doesn't give us a lot of time, though, between then and the hearing, correct?
The hearing is,
The PSC hearing.
that's on December 3rd.
Yep.
Yeah, but we could still get this in motion.
Right, but I mean, we would, in a perfect world, we would like to have that all buttoned up before the hearing.
I know, but
Okay.
I'd rather we start making some steps. And this is one step, controlling something. If we lose it, we got this in our back pocket, controlling zoning ordinances and everything to that effect in regards to that farm.
Well, one thing won't change is that our proximity to transmission lines, we're still close. So whether the solar farm goes or doesn't go, we're still probably a target for wind, only because they save a lot of money. They're already, if you read everything that they had in their permit, there's 20-some miles of underground cable. And then I don't know how many miles to the transmission lines that are over there. Okay, anything else, Vito?
I'm good.
One more other piece that I'll share with you. As you recall, the last meeting, I had shared with you guys a copy of the letter that I sent to the DNR. And I sent it I looked for all the different departments, and I sent it to wildlife supervisor up in Wausau, I believe it was, and then his boss. So I sent it to those two people. The target of that letter was to talk about the endangered species that were here, that they've all recognized are here, and it's actually part of the record. I got a call or an email from Kyle McLaughlin, who is, forgot what he's over. He's over energy or something or other. He wanted to have a conversation with me, so he did. He called me yesterday, and I let him have it with both barrels. I basically said, you guys are supposed to be watching out for our best interest, and you're not. You're sitting on your hands. I said, all you're doing is checking box after box after box. I found out that nobody showed up here. They did a desktop review of environmental reports that were created by other people that didn't show up here, okay? And they acknowledged the fact that the blue butterfly and the warbler and whatever else is out there, the glass lizard and some other things, they acknowledged that they're there, but he also told me that the DNR has a way of working around that. I said, clarify. He said, well, if we find out that there are concentrations of those endangered species there, then we make them take out a permit, and we monitor how many casualties there are, supposedly. So there's a take amount. My jaw hit my desk, and you could hear it on the phone. What was that? It was my jaw hit the desk. I said, really? So it doesn't matter that we have endangered species on our property that you're going to wipe out with this solar farm. You guys don't care. You just want the thing there, and you're going to write all sorts of different permits to allow people to do whatever it is that they want to do because there's so much money in there. Let me ask you, are you getting a donation that we call a bribe from Nextera? Not that I know of. And I said, well, you certainly did in the town of Grant, and that's public knowledge. So I let him have it. I said, I appreciate all the work you're doing, but I said, I can't turn around on my property without breaking some DNR rule. I mean, I got to have license on license on license on license, permit when I was in business, permit for everything, from building a structure to stormwater, and all of this, because the DNR is supposed to be watching out for all of us. You're supposed to be our guardian, and you're not doing that. You're a bureaucracy.
How did he respond?
He didn't say a whole lot.
Wow.
He didn't say a whole lot. And I said, if I sound like I'm pissed, it's because I am, because this is going to impact us. And I said, the United States Congress said defined environmental as cultural and aesthetic values as well. What about those? Do you not care? So it was an interesting conversation, and in the midst of feeling like a telemarketer calling all these people for their email address. So I was a little busy, but and a little frustrated. So I was pretty wound up when the Derek Van Orden thing came. I'm thinking, I'm going to get to him, but I didn't get to him. But I got to him today. So I'm not.
What number did you use to get through to a real person in his office?
I called.
There was a number they gave us after that.
Well, I looked up Derek Van Orden contact. I also sent another email to Johnson, but it'll tell you the Washington office, the Eau Claire office, and what's the other one?
Madison or no?
No, not Madison. But anyhow, so I called that number, and it said, if you're a constituent, blah, 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 do you go here? And I said, I'm from Wisconsin, so I pushed the button, and to my absolute surprise, he answered the phone. And he listened very intentfully as I told him what we were challenged with and the whole thing about federal funding and how it's being pocketed and not helping us as people that we're taxpayers. And then he said, you need to have a face-to-face with the congressman. So I can help you set that up. I'll give you the number. And so I sent her a long email this morning. I'm yet to hear back from her yet, and I'm hoping that that's going to be the case and that we'll have an opportunity.
I shared with Carl via email. I did contact the governor's office. I contacted him directly and emailed him directly, and I spoke with one of his staff people after sending another email, letting them know I was a little heated under the collar that I hadn't heard from anyone. She got the whole drift because I didn't let her off the phone until she understood how pissed I am. And I have not heard from the governor. And if I don't hear from him by the end of the week, I'm going to be making a trip to Madison. We need to find out what his schedule is so that I can do it on the right day. But this is BS that these representatives think they can just ignore our contact with them.
Well, the one thing that I have continually hammered home, it's 30-0. And that's what I told the guy from the DNR. I said, really? You're going to sit on the phone and tell me that 30 applications, every single one of them was approved and not one of them was rejected? I said, that's bullshit. Pardon my French, but that's what he said.
It is.
I can't believe that. So I guess we'll see where it goes, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity to speak with the congressman in person.
I just want to let everybody know I contacted Cynthia Haggard down there in Adams County, the administrator. She was going to talk to the chair there and see if she can get the solar farm on their agenda and discuss it down there and have some support for them, or for us.
Maybe they ought to come up here and just sit in one of our
Exactly.
meetings or log
But
on.
I just want to let everybody know that's what I did. So.
Thank you.
Well, and if they said, yes, well, it'll be in our agenda, let us know, because we'll go on there.
One final comment from me. I think I sent all of you the document that Kyle sent to me. That is this long. And I'm telling everybody on this committee needs to read that document, because it is the actual application. And they talk about every single piece, not the abridged one that was only like 2 pages from their decision on the EIS. This is the whole application. And unbeknownst to a lot of us, some of the stuff that we have been fighting for or talking about is already in there, good or bad. And there's actually a section that talks about setbacks and screening. And they have distances. So we talked about putting ordinances in that you needed to have a 200-foot whatever setback or 200-foot screening or whatever the case may be. That's all detailed in there. Now, we can say that there's some ambiguity about some of Nextera's responses, because there's a lot of stuff that said this may change or this may change. But in the area of that particular piece, which is the screening and or the setbacks, they have different numbers for a county road, a state road, or a local municipality road. And they get smaller and smaller and smaller. So, but it did say, or other such as the PSC would agree to. So I think that in the case that we're not going to win this and we're going to get this thing in any house, perhaps we should take that letter, and I mean, I was highlighting stuff on the screen while I was reading through it. And it did take, it's an hour read. I mean, really, because sometimes you kind of, what did I just read? But I think if we want to be really well prepared for the hearing, we should take that document, read through it, and then tailor some questions to target some of those things very specifically.
I don't know if any of you have gone onto the PSC website, but there's a section on the PSC website where you can see the full application process step by step. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Because you can open up each piece and see, and then it'll be PSC requesting, doing a records request from Nextera, and then Nextera's response to that request. And that's all posted in the PSC.
This isn't in that form. This is actually the document that the PSC is going to base their decision on, I believe.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, this is how they're getting to.
That's what came to me.
This is moving through all of the criteria. You can also go in there and click on all the comments that have been submitted from the public. That is overwhelmingly, I think there's 3 in favor of this. All the rest of the comments, and there is a lot.
They have over 100, yeah, they said.
Against this project, and that's all listed in there as well.
Speaks to that in that document, so I would highly encourage you guys to read that. I mean, seriously, there's some good stuff in there. And the guy from the DNR, I said, so if we produced, I talked about getting our own environmental study. I said, if we produced information that would contradict some of the reports that you guys have gotten, what would you do with that? He said, we would take a look at it. Their process is they get a document from some entity, and then they give it to their experts, and the experts basically agree with it or not agree with it, and then they check a box and say the environmental study was done. And I said, so if we found stuff that doesn't jive with what you've got, and I said, I understand that the environmental study was done by Nextera. He said, yes, it was. but our people reviewed it. And I said, okay, so if I sent you a report that said there were purple elephants out there, would you review that and say, yeah, sure, there are purple elephants out there, let's move on?
Right.
You know, I was thinking with this December 3rd PSC meeting, we need to sit back and find a way to control it. We don't want to have a mob action. We don't want to have hostilities because they'll just walk off and it will negate everything we're trying to say. We don't want to have repetitive questions. We got to have a way to control it. Because if I was sitting up on their board and people start acting stupid, I'm walking out. But we don't want that. We want them to hear us. And we don't want to repeat the same question 1,000 times.
Well
So-
taken. And that was my point exactly about reading the document. I mean, at least the people on this committee could be assigned questions. It wouldn't be repetitive, but.
Yeah, well, what about the public?
Well, I don't know how we stop that.
With a public hearing, so they have to hear everybody.
Right, but you see,
But I think-
Karen, but you see where I'm going with this.
We
That's
could,
just simple control. That's all it is.
we
You
could
whoever
create
the
a-
chair is, you control it and you stop it. So
We could create
that's
a
not-
list.
That shouldn't be an issue.
We could create a list of people that have questions, and they could be everybody here in a row, and then after that, if there's anybody in the audience that wants a question, at least then
Who's
we're.
running the meeting?
That I don't know. Well, I also heard somebody said it was in Nakusa, which I'm gonna have Stan look into too. We want it here.
Nakusa, what do you mean, the high school over there?
They did, well, they said the senior center or something like that, which I
The community center?
yeah.
It's not
It's
very
right there
big.
by the grammar school,
That's not
by the
very big.
Piggly Wiggly.
I gotta confirm that, so I'm gonna have Stan work on
Half as
that,
big
so.
as-
Well, and they can justify it because they're looking at, our mailing address is Nakusa
Yes.
versus Rome. Okay.
That's another job for Stan.
So anyhow, I think we should.
I like that,
I would
looking
ask
at the
all of you guys
document.
to read the document.
Okay.
And if for some reason you didn't get it, I'd be happy to send it to you. Again, but it's a long read, and actually, you'd be surprised because they talk about everything we've been talking about. And some of this stuff is already cut and dried, but we may have an opportunity. I think the more informed we sound to the
Correct.
PSC, the more informed that we've studied it, we understand it, we have questions specific to a section in that report, the better we sound, the more credibility we'll have as a
Instead, we're
group.
just sounding like we're whining, we don't want it, we don't want it.
Correct. Because they're gonna turn their ears off to that.
Yeah, and they don't care. But you're right, the questions as to how did you get here? And like you questioned that environmental study, they signed off on it, but,
We have to put them on the defensive.
yeah.
Questions that they would not be able to provide an answer for,
You know, Carl,
given in the past.
when do you
Because,
think,
did that just because.
when do you think that you're going to find out? Because if I reach out to the TV stations and the radio stations, I mean, I want them there.
Yeah, well, we got a month and a half on that, so we'll find out.
Okay, because once I get that,
I got a lot of things to work on. right
first I got to get the date, the time, and the location.
I've already contacted them on something else, so.
Okay.
Did anybody see on the, somebody had commented or posted the Wisconsin Public Radio?
Yeah.
That the Sevasola, but I mean, it's getting out there. Our name is getting out there. Someone had posted from our town here on, I hadn't seen it, but.
I put it out there this morning.
Yeah, Carol posted it.
Somebody else put it out there too. I think Melissa had it. Somebody else put it out there too.
Was that Melissa?
One of our Melissas. But yeah. The other thing is, did you guys get the email I sent out to you this morning from Lori up in Morgan?
Yep.
Yeah, that's it is getting out of there. I think that's we're putting the pressure on these folks with the media, and that's going to keep going. I also
Their congressman in their district
Yeah,
didn't
well-
respond. He didn't respond that he could help the matter. He basically referred us back to the state.
But his eyes are open to it. I took that letter. I sent it also to I sent it to Teston and Krug, and I copied out the TV and radio stations. So I said it's getting out there, and I said I'm just pouring more fuel on the fire on that one.
Now that's
But
a
it was pretty
different.
interesting.
That's the Green Bay TV area.
Yeah. Well, that one up there was
Yeah. So now
originally,
we
yeah.
got a different viewing people over there.
Yeah.
Because ours come out of Wausau.
Yep. I also sent it on to Mr. Colas at the WTA, which we had a nice little conversation on Friday. But I'll cover that in a little bit. So. we share our unpleasantries.
Well, one of the things that we had discussed is a class action lawsuit,
Yep.
and I really, the more I think about it, the more I'm pretty determined to get somewhere, even if it's with Derek Van Orden. But any of these solar entities that are taking government money without benefiting the people, the taxpayers, and every one of them is the same. Nobody gets anything. Maybe some tax revenue, which is paltry. I mean, the $400,000 we're going to get, that barely pays for recovering a road halfway. Revenue sharing. And I think that that's something that our Congress people can do for us in Washington, that if in fact you're going to take money for federally subsidized energy projects, the people in the community where those projects are going in need to share the revenue. And in that way, you could either use it to pay down our taxes, and then people would get a benefit from their real estate taxes, or some kind of a stipend on your energy bill, whatever the case may be. I think that's going to, well, it'll put a burr in their saddle for sure. I hope they're listening, because if we keep pushing for that, somebody's going to have an ear to it, and somebody's going to probably say, maybe you should, because we're not benefiting, are we? I mean, I would challenge any of those to stand up in front of the PSC or anybody else and say, how are we as a community benefiting from a solar farm here that use federal tax dollars to be produced? Yeah. So I think that's, and that's not disclosed anywhere in that application. Nowhere in that application does it say we're getting this much money from the federal government. I think that would raise a lot of eyebrows.
Well, the other thing, they're saying the tax revenue is coming in. There's no taxes on any of this. There's nothing coming in on taxes. But that's what they're exposing that. They threw out like a $25 million. No, that doesn't exist. They're putting $400,000 in our pocket every year out of that million, but that's about the extent of it. There's no other tax revenue. So, I mean, they're just false advertising us every which way you look. So, anyway. Sure.
Okay, so going back to, first, before I do that, anybody else have any comments that have happened to them or around them, or questions or whatnot during the last week?
You ready? You ready?
I had an article someone sent me from New York, and a woman was killed by a solar panel. She was walking
Yeah.
the walkway they had built around the solar farm, and a wind came up and took a solar panel out and killed her. And I'm thinking, we have lots of wind here. We have microbursts, sometimes tornadoes. I know there's not a lot of people that live out there, but if she got killed just walking around the walkway, I'm like, it was bad publicity for the solar people, so I was kind of glad to see that.
Well, the DNR guy did tell me yesterday that the information that they have is that all of the hazardous chemicals that are in solar panels are bound. So even if they are fractured or destroyed by a storm or something like that, they would not leach into the ground. I said, so if I found data that would contradict that, should I send it to you? He said, yeah, please do. But right now they're pretty
Well, he's
confident.
really scrubbing to make sure that data doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, right, because that's what he's been told. He doesn't know that. He, did anybody take a solar panel and actually test the soil?
People are
and
all
stuff?
sitting at desks. I mean,
know.
aside from the game warden, which I was told that Adams County has one, aside from the game warden that's actually out and about, who's actually coming here and looking at these things? So, anybody else? Because I think we're going to get to Carl, and he's going to. All right, Carl, you're on.
All right. Speaking of the DNR, last Friday, Tim, Karen, and I did a ride over at Derek Hughes and met some interesting folks. I had a very long conversation with our new secretary for the DNR. She took over for Dan Bauman, and I did hit her on a solar farm as well as the nanobubble project. And what was kind of disappointing was she knew nothing about really either one of them. She's been in position 9 months. And I just, especially with the nanobubbles, I said, this is nuts. I said, we found a solution to fix these lakes. I said, I told her, you got 2,000 paired lakes in the state. This is going to cost billions. It's not just millions, billions to fix all these things. And she was very intent in listening, and she's the number 2 person behind, there's five of these people in the state that report to one person. So she is a higher up. She was I'll give her credit. She was very intent on what I was saying. So I do have her card. I will be sending her all the details on it. But again, on the solar farm, she had no idea what we had here in Rome. She knew nothing about Sand Valley. She knew nothing about the trap shooters, the lakes, anything. She was unaware of all of it. And it just tells me that the DNR they're in their own little bubble. The upper people have no idea what's going on below them. So, I mean, these people in lower levels are making these decisions, and upper people probably don't know or don't care. Go figure it out. But anyway, she seemed like she was a little better and would be a little better informed if she had the right facts. Dan Bauman, who was in that position before, retired, but he did help us out with the project getting it going on the nanobubbles. So there is hope there in that respect. So I will be filling her in. Well, I also met with Mike Colas, and as I said, we had shared unpleasantries. He said, I guess you didn't like my response when I hit him on any help from the WTA, and I said, I guess you didn't like my response either. We got that. He is the president of the WTA. He was there, and his little bobbleheaded.
He's their executive director.
Yeah, and his little bobblehead attorney was there
Township
too.
Association.
So he and I had a few disagreements. I mean, the kid thinks he knows everything. He doesn't. But in any case, he was more or less non-committal. We're on our own basically. But then we started talking about different things. He did take interest in the endangered species. They hadn't heard anything like that before. He said that one might have some possibilities, and his little attorney said the same thing, that one's might have some legs on it. He tried telling me that the folks, when they recused themselves in Morgan, that they basically weren't liable. And I said, thinking about it later, I said, that's nonsense. Once they recused themselves, they no longer represent the town. So the town was at will for Nextera. And that's just nonsense. The only way they could have gotten out of their position was to resign and get two other people on there to represent the town. Because once they recused themselves, they no longer represented the town. They had one member on the board. They gave up. That was basically given up. So in my mind, that's still they were violating state statute 19.45. The Nextera violated it, and those two board members violated it. So anyway,
Do you know how many of these 30 are in unincorporated towns?
No, but I have a map on all of them now. The other thing was when I hit him on the Wellhead Protection District, when I was originally looking at it, I was trying to measure out the footage, and I had it wrong. Half a mile does go a ways. And the wellhead at the trap shooters will put a dent in their project. Then I thought about it. Well, if we need to put a well in over by Walden, that's going to severely restrict our use over here. Mm-hmm. If we put one up by 14th Avenue, if we get 25 homes to sign on, again. And we might be able to get that extended out to a mile instead of a half mile. But a half mile is going to put a serious dent in. A mile is going to pretty much destroy their plans. So I'm going to have Stan work on that. Yeah. Let's see what else. I did been in contact with Jens Jensen from Jensen Ecology. We've had some good discussions. He doesn't do the EIS itself. He does do the ecological study, the environmental endangered species. He did a lot of work for Sand Valley. I sent him a bunch of information yesterday. I got to send him back that report of the folks from Nextera, what they sent, and all the stuff they said was they found, but nobody wants to do anything about. So he's going to analyze that and make some recommendations. One of the things we can do is, obviously, we can't get a count on any of the endangered species right now because of the migratory patterns, but we might be able to shut them down on their vote because we won't have all the information. So we might be able to push it back till next spring sometime when the migratory patterns are back and they can actually get a real count. And again, who was it saying that you were saying that the DNR could also take a incidental taking thing. That applies to DNR endangered species. I don't think it applies to U.S. Fish and Wildlife because even that Mike Cola said, they don't give a crap about what the state does. If they say you can't do it, you can't do it. And
well, they did reference that in the PSC document that I was talking about.
But there's nothing from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife at all. There's no response or no information at all from them on any of the documents. They said they were in contact with them, but really? So let's see, the December meeting, again, I'm going to have Stan work on that, and we want it here, but I'm thinking we got to get Krug here, try and get Van Orten here, get the politicians here, too, so that they can get up there and speak.
If we get Van Orten here, I think the other two will show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, brown noser. What else?
What about Tustin?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
2 meetings proving.
Well, I sent the information this morning. I sent it on to Pat and Scott and told them to get a hold of the other representatives in the state and said, push on it. And I copied the media. So all the folks in the media had the same letter. And I think they might glom onto it and start pushing a little more. So we'll see. What else we got here? Yeah, I guess
She's going to carry, did send a letter to Tammy Baldwin.
I put her on there too. But, yeah. Anyway, so we're working on several different angles. So, but the message is getting out there, and I think that's a big one.
How about the letters that we have out in front? Did anybody hear that people?
There isn't any letters out there.
They're gone.
I just looked. And so they've
We gotta get those online too, but it's shorthanded here in the office. But yeah, I'll
been a good thing.
I'll make some more. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'll get some more out there today.
There were some people that had posted that
Oh,
who voted for this. People, which I chuckled and I thought, okay, I'm not going to write what's in my mind right now because, and also about the letters and whatnot, and they are posted online, correct?
no, not yet.
Okay, so
I don't know. I didn't.
so at least one person.
Yeah, no, not yet.
Okay, we
It's-
should probably get something on our.
Michelle's she's gone today again. Yeah. The other thing, your banner. We did spend we had $600 left over in our budget for the $6,000 for all the signs and all that, and I did have Robbie order another 100 signs. So tonight's board meeting, I'm going to ask for more funding, and we should get the banner going, and probably some more signs, because I mean we're almost out of signs. That's what you got out there is it, and I took 50 more over to Rome Outdoors on Tuesday.
How many did the police bring back?
I don't know.
Should we go over there?
So, who does the chief of
Yes.
police report to?
Nobody.
Nobody.
What?
You heard what he said.
Our chief of police reports to nobody?
How about the fire chief?
Nobody.
Is that the way every unincorporated town is?
Yes.
So there's no accountability, they just,
The only thing we can control is funding.
But what about the commission? They don't have it the same.
Not anymore. Act 12 took that away from us.
That's a different story, Lori. I'll talk to you later off record on that.
But we're bringing it to others' attention. We're going to also talk to some folks and see what other options there are.
But the thing is, you're right. I mean, somebody should stop at the police station and pick up those signs because they'll just sit there and collect dust.
Lori and I'll go get them after.
Yeah.
the meeting.
Better you two guys than me.
Hey, Gary.
How many more signs do you think we need, by the way? We got 100 coming. It'll probably be here Monday.
well, we just gotta get the word out that there's more here. You're not gonna get one in Quick Trip, so I wouldn't even.
I don't know, another 100, another 200. I don't
Well,
know.
after the meeting, Lori and Gary and I went down the road, and a couple of businesses did put them up. And yet there was a couple other businesses, and you know what, we totally respect that. They said,
Yeah.
we want to remain retail and 100%. But if they're not asked, and we went into a business that had some people in there like, oh, do you have any extra? I'd like one for my house. And we're like, yes, we do.
Well, that was the guy at Quick Trip said, me talking, not Quick Trip, he said, me talking in the legal, I'm not a legal person, I appreciate what you guys are doing, because we've seen what's happened all over the state.
Hey, Carl, on those signs, you think tonight maybe I should make an announcement? Because people could be thinking that there are people out there vandalizing and taking the sign.
we're going to bring it up.
I could bring it up on the announcements. I'll make myself a note now,
Yeah.
so people know this was the police doing this. Give them a nice plug.
Yeah. Nice that they can do that. I hope they're keeping up on all the other stuff. That's real police work. Okay. Did I just say that? Jeez.
No, because I was thinking,
Didn't hear it.
Okay, so I've been taking some notes. The one thing we talked about last meeting was hosting a meeting for the businesses, and we didn't have all their email addresses, so we got them. We got most of them. Of the 90-something on the list, there's 80-something I think that we have emails for.
Send me the emails, and what I'll do is I'll draft a letter, and I'll send it out to them and see what kind of support we get. That's all Stan was looking for, what kind of business support. And again, if we get 25, 50 businesses, that's what I'll report to Stan. I don't have to say we got 90 in the town or whatever it is.
Well, you got a lot of them here, but I mean, there's few of them that I left voicemails. Does anybody know Tate? goodness. Tate Barwald. The funny thing is, you call on the number, but then they text you back on a different number that I can't trace to any of the phone calls I made. He said he gave me his email address, but I have no idea who he is. I looked him up online and couldn't make any sort of a. Rebecca from Slice of Business or Slice of Heaven responded. Good. So I got a few more to put on here, but I did send you the list yesterday. But most of them have email addresses. So I think we can do that if we want to plan a meeting.
I think I just sent an email out and see what kind of response we get. Getting a meeting with business owners. The last one we had was 3 of us there, and I'm not a business owner, so it's just trying to get them all together at time that works. I think working through email and just getting responses back, we get a feel for it.
Okay. Well, you have that. I sent that to you yesterday. I'll send you a couple more.
You did. What email did you send that one to?
I thought I sent it to you yesterday. Because I to the whole group, I think.
Yep, I got it. Tim Baldwin's office, and I do have a contact.
I was out of town most of the day too,
Tim
so.
Baldwin's office, she's extremely responsive, and I've had a response from her. Previous community, I was working towards getting a huge pile of money in congressionally directed spending for wastewater treatment plants, so I engaged with her a lot. And she's very, very responsive, so I can give you her email.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, so the other things on the list today would for everybody to read the document from the PSC, and again, let me know if you didn't get it.
Yep, I got it.
As Carl mentioned, we still have some ways to work with the environmental. Is there a way to contact the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service? Is somebody going to do that? Want me to do that? Is somebody else going to do it? Do we have a contact?
I'll see what Jen's, he's familiar with all those. He knows people that will do the EIS study. He's also worked with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Again, he's worked with Sand Valley and the other groups. He's familiar with the area, and that's very helpful. His rate goes to 100, 140 an hour, so I'll be talking to the board tonight and make sure the board's good with bringing him on. I already told him, for preliminary, I sent him information to look at. So yeah, he's kind of concerned with it.
Well, I noticed that when that environmental report came out to NextEra, I Googled the people that they're fairly well known, but they do, they're an entity that makes money, that does this for a living. So I can speak to that a little bit from when I was in business. The ISO 9000 people that would certify your business as ISO 9000, which makes it easy for you to compete, but they're big businesses and they get paid a lot of money. So they're not going to come in to you and they're not going to tell you something terrible. They're going to work with you to get it, to get it the way that you want it to be so you don't lose your certification. I believe these environmental people, they're getting thousands and thousands of dollars. They're not going to piss off the customer who's paying them to write the report.
Correct.
So they keep coming back to them. So if I'm NextEra and I put in hundreds of these, who am I going to? The same people that wrote the report the last time, and the last time, and the last time, and the last time. And what do you think is going to be in that report? It's going to be favorable. So unless we find something that we can refute some of what was said in there by another company, we can give that to the DNR and they will pay attention to it. Whether they'll do anything about it is another.
Well, anything more going to the DNR, I'll give you Karen's address and you copy her and everything.
Yeah.
So
we'll see what happens from that environmental company, and then.
Karen from the DNR.
Yeah, that Karen.
Her name's Karen as well.
And then the water well.
HYUEN, I think.
The water well thing, Carl. How is that going to get from where we are talking about it to action?
I'm going to talk to Stan on that. He's done those. He has written up wellhead protection plans. So
is there a possibility that we're going to see that before the hearing with the PSC? Because that would be a nice bomb to drop.
Well, the other thing is, again, when you start thinking about future of the town, when you're going to need water wells further out, possibly, that really impinges on our ability to expand. And I don't think anybody's looked at that. I mean, they haven't looked at a lot of things, but the other thing I sent to, I think it was Jen, somebody else too, was the overall impact of all the different solar farms just in the general area here, the overall impact they'll have versus just the 2,000 acres we're talking here. Because you're talking another 1,300 up at Saratoga, another almost 5,000 grand or somewhere on that.
Wouldn't it be neat to shut one down that's operating? And
Yeah.
I did tell the DNR guy the other day, I said, you have to remember something. I said, I'm sure you've heard of East Palatine, Ohio.
Yeah.
I said, because we were talking about a fire, I said, something like that ever happens here, guess what? You're now a part of the record. You're now part of the record that I communicated with you about all of these concerns, and you're basically telling me that there's nothing to be concerned about. So just remember that. So all of you people in the DNR, in the state, that let this happen despite our concerns, are going to be part of that record.
Did I say anything about insurance on your homeowners here?
No.
It's kind of a mixed bag. You may or may not be protected by a disaster from
I didn't see
them.
that in one of the letters.
Yeah, I've got an opinion from an insurance agent over by Morgan, and they actually state that if it's a disaster, you're not covered.
Really?
Yeah, you have to rely on them to do it, which might be, talk about Ohio. For some things you might be covered, but for anything that's brought on by the solar farm, you're probably not covered, and you have to make sure they're covered. The problem is, how do we ensure, how do we enforce them to make sure they have that kind of coverage?
Well, we have to somehow ask them to have a bond, because if the decommissioning part
How
of
much?
this thing,
Yeah.
lots.
Yeah.
The decommissioning part of this thing is spelled out in that document that I'm asking you guys to read. It's all there, tells exactly what they have to do and what they're committing to. But 30 years from now,
Yep.
if they say, well, we're not going to do that, what recourse does anybody have? And so I think there has to be some sort of bond there. And then, of course, if for some reason there is a fire, maybe there isn't, but if there were, and somehow our water was contaminated,
Or the air.
what would happen to this whole community? Would we all have to just leave because we don't have water anymore?
I had a quick question about the Saratoga. Is that a 30-year plan too?
Most of them are. I don't know about that one. I don't have specific
What I'm
knowledge.
saying is, basically, have they had any issues in the last 5 years with their solar panels?
Any issues? I talked to Lorelei up there, and they're getting along with them. I'll put it that way. They don't want to see it here either. But she said, they put the buffers up. And I thought, I didn't say anything, but no, they didn't. There's no buffers there. So I don't know their enforcement or what their agreements were.
I was just curious because they're existing.
Yeah, I don't even know if they've gotten any funds yet.
And the other reason is, and when I posted my, that we had 1,500 signatures, we've had some people comment, well, you got how many acres up north of us here? They're just doing fine. You're gonna have people like that questioning.
Oh, one or two.
Yeah, I know. I'm just being devil's advocate.
We're almost at 1,700, by the way. No.
Good.
Yeah, almost getting there.
Last thing on the list here, and we can add more certainly, but the Planning Commission is going to meet on the 18th, so I think it's important just to underscore, I think, the importance of subzoning or ordinance.
And that's at 4:00.
Yeah, we need to do that, because even if it's a futile effort, even if it gets blocked or overturned.
That's why I brought that up.
At least we can tell the media and the world and everybody else that we had ordinances to stop this, we had buffers or setbacks or whatnot, and the PSC just ran roughshod over us on the whole thing. And it does say in that document that they can do that. So that's why I think there's a lot of stuff in there about, that answers virtually every question that everybody has ever asked. It was amazing that we just now got it, but like I said, it's a long read. So that's the 6 things. So we know the Planning Commission's going to meet. You're working on the water well thing, Carl,
And don't forget that October 31st meeting over here.
Yeah, we also might have one for the audio company.
and that is, again, that October 31st meeting is for what?
That'll be at 10:45 for that
Virtual.
virtual law.
Ordinance law.
Right. Be right. I think in this room over here.
I've got a tentative appointment set up at 10 o'clock on the 31st for audio architects to redo the whole system here, so we'll see.
gonna be
They haven't
in this
confirmed it.
room?
Wait, yeah. Well, it has to be because we have to have the TV.
Is that going to be in this room? Vito?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
we can
you got a
actually-
10 o'clock thing?
We could come to that.
It's not confirmed yet, but we're looking at 10 o'clock for them to come in and just analyze our whole setup here.
Oh, and like, he'll be done by 10:45.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, I'm hoping because you got like this committee and the Planning Commission
Yeah.
coming in here.
10:45 will do it one way or the other, but
Okay.
just bring it up.
Any other action items besides these 7 that are kind of on the list here?
Has anybody tried to contact Sarah Rodriguez, the lieutenant governor? She is gonna be running in 2026.
Was she at the thing on Friday?
She wasn't there.
I did talk to somebody that was running for governor.
Kilderoy.
Kilderoy? Okay, I talked to her. I also talked to that assemblywoman from Sauk.
Yeah, that was Karen DeSantos, yeah.
Okay, and she and Scott started talking about it. They got together on it too.
Karen
So.
basically agrees with us.
Yeah, yeah.
There was another one there, Sarah,
I grabbed anybody that had a name tag on. So
I haven't contacted Sarah Rod. Is she a Democrat or Republican?
she's a Democrat, but she is running for governor next year.
The only reason I asked that question is because if she's a Democrat, then she probably talks to Evers. But if we found out if she's Republican, she's probably not talking to Evers.
Right, but I had an opportunity to meet her and walk around with her when I was over at Anago. She came to our downtown area. We walked around, took a look at it, and it was all, economic development type stuff in that. And so, she seemed responsive to community.
when's the election? April.
April.
Let's invite all of them to our December 3rd meeting.
That's what I'm thinking. And then there is it's on the 22nd at 7 p.m. next week at 7 p.m. down in the town of Adams. And I don't know what senators are gonna be there, but they have been invited. It's hosted by the town of Adams. It is a county.
Oh, county unit meeting?
County unit meeting.
Yeah, I got that. That's
We have something though here. What date is that, Karen?
For
On October 27th. I saw that.
7th.
Yeah, I saw that because I saw it on my email. But we also have something here at 5 o'clock, and I can't remember what it is. I have to look at my calendar.
I think the county unit meeting is next Wednesday on the 22nd.
7 o'clock.
At 7 p.m.
Yeah.
At the town of
Adams.
Town Hall. And I do know that, there's a list, several representatives who are asked to be there.
Well, they're always invited. Last time,
So who shows up for that?
yeah, last month it was Ron Johnson's assistant was there. There was a couple other folks there. So there are always somebody who shows up. I think Scott was there too.
Would we be able to speak at that?
Yeah, well, we can talk. Well, no, I don't know if it's an open meeting or not. It's towns. It's all.
I don't know.
towns and
I think it's by invitation, Carl. But I also took note of the fact that there's something on that same date we have here, and that's why I kind of figured
This is at
I'm
7
coming
o'clock
here.
at night, but
Pardon me?
I don't know that it's an open public meeting. It might be, but it's usually a lot of people there.
It's an avenue for elected officials
Yeah.
to meet.
The
A meeting of
three of us on the board here get invited every month. And it's every town like that too, so.
It's elected officials, administrators.
Yep.
One thing I missed on here, you're gonna have a board meeting soon, right?
Tonight's the board meeting, yep.
Okay, so this was an old action item that we kind of didn't revisit here, but we were talking about getting a paid-for real estate assessment of what would happen to our property values should the solar farm go in. Do we still want to do that? And
I contacted Tony Robley, our assessor, and it would be one hell of a project for him, actually. Right now, he doesn't have the time.
so he's the county assessor?
He's our assessor. It's a company that does assessment, private assessments.
I think they'd go down just because tourism would go down, or people would be more inclined to show up, and they wouldn't buy property, so
Yeah.
your sales aren't gonna be, so the prices.
Well, absent some kind of a qualified report from a qualified individual to show the PSC that one of our concerns is this as well, I guess if we have to pay for this, and if we had to pay $1,000 or $5,000 or whatever, is that something we want to?
There's a study out there already.
Yeah, the one I read was just like 1%.
But is it a tourism town?
Yeah.
Then I also read that.
Right.
I also read the closer you are to the boundary, Like if you're like bordering it, your real estate value could go down by as much as 25%. Nobody's gonna buy your property.
The woman I talked to at Maple Creek last week, she's a clerk up there. She said her whole house now is going to be surrounded by a solar farm.
Well, they talked about, in that document, they talk about the agreement
Yeah.
with the people that have land abutting the proposed area and how they'll get paid. It doesn't list the dollars, but there again, that report is absent a lot of detail. It talks in general,
Yeah.
about paying people, but it doesn't talk about the detail.
Unless you have a contract with them, it's the only way that would make it liable to get them paid every year.
Well, and that's what the contract, we all saw a copy of that contract that they have to sign off on it. And I believe there was a clause someplace that you couldn't disparage the,
Yep. Oh, that's buried in there.
so they do have it. We have a copy of it. We showed that at the meeting, if you recall.
And the media has it as well.
So do we want to table the real estate thing, or do we want to try to push that forward and see what we can find? I mean, if it's not going to pay us anything, if it's not going to pay off with anything, then maybe we shouldn't, but I don't know if it would be impactful for the PSC.
I talked to Al Schmidt about a month or two ago, and he did state that if he was listing property or dealing with property near the solar farm, he would make sure it was noted on the forms that you'd have to notify it.
Well, you have to.
Yeah.
That's law.
Because it's
real estate law.
It could have an impact on the price, but he didn't have any idea whether it would be positive or negative. I mean,
The reason I
don't
know is
believe-
because I had a case one time with that personally, but basically the law reads something like, you must disclose a material fact, whether you know or should have known, that may or may not influence the sale of a real estate property. That's almost verbatim.
yeah.
And so in this town, nobody can say, well, I didn't know there was a solar farm here. Nobody can say that now. I mean, they might have been able to say that, but
Oh, the other thing is too, about the December 3rd meeting, my suggestion would be put two postcard mailings out, by the way. An initial one, then a second one, because you just got yours, last week for our meeting?
finally did get mine.
That's terrible.
My wife will not put anything in the mailbox. If she's got to mail something, she goes down to the post office and mails it. I don't know where that damn thing went, but I got it 2 weeks after the fact.
So, yeah, my suggestion would be put one out about a month ahead, which is getting close, and then one 2 weeks ahead of time, just to
Okay.
make sure it's out there, so.
Anybody else have any other ideas on,
On the real
I
estate,
want to touch base on that date for that Adams County thing. That's October 22nd. That's our rescheduled date for the budget meeting.
Yeah, but this is at 7 down at Adams County.
Right, and we have ours at 5.
Well, we'll be done at 6:30 at the latest, so.
Okay, I'm just saying because you're going to have you have the whole board here and Karen, and if you want to get down there,
Yeah, it's 20 minutes.
do you want us or me to create some talking points for you to get up in front of the people down in Adams County? I'd be happy to do that for you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I spoke with a realtor, and I'm assuming the conversation would be considered off the record, but he did say that absolutely, if this solar farm comes in, it's going to affect the property value throughout the town of Rome, not just within a half mile or mile. There will be a drastic change because of the recreational activity of the community that will be wrecked if that solar farm
Hunters
comes.
just lost 2,000 acres of hunting land. Who was this?
It's a local realtor, but I'm assuming the conversation was off the record, so I don't want to use the name.
Do they worry about errant rifle shots during hunting season that
Well,
might find their way to the panel? I mean,
seriously.
I'm 20 feet up in a tree, so everything I'm shooting's going down, but that's a long ways, 20
oh,
miles from here.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
a couple hundred yards. Yeah. Oops.
A flock of seagulls could do a lot of damage to one of those
They
panels.
have that. There's studies about the birds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That fly, they think that.
Well, they talked, in that document, they
okay,
talked about putting in water wells
Yeah,
across that property to provide water to wash the panels with.
yeah.
What's involved in doing that? Do we have any way to say you can't put a well there?
No, that's through the DNR. They have to get a permit from the town and the DNR, but it's a civil process. It'd probably be a shallow well.
To wash them.
Hmm?
Who is going to wash them?
That'd be their, their obligation.
Well, they tout about all the jobs it's going to create, but they don't say how many jobs. So absent the construction activity, where there's going to be some people from out of town coming in here, driving big equipment and all that, how many people does it take to operate the solar farm? 2, 3, 7? I mean, that's where, the political football here is that whether you're on the right or on the left, I was told that on the right, you want all that money coming into the state. Okay, but it's not all that money coming into the state, it's going into the pockets of the developers. And so a few jobs here and there while they're constructing it, but it's not, nobody's identified, well, that's 700 jobs over a period of 2 years, or 60 jobs over the period of 3. Nobody says that. They just say there's a lot, they look at the dollar amount, and that's all coming into the state. Maybe, maybe not. The money for the panels isn't coming to the state.
What chemicals do they use for panels?
Hopefully it's vinegar.
Well, and if they're spraying for weeds.
You know,
Oh,
my son bought 40 acres, that's in MFL. I cleared 3.5 acres, that set with the person that he bought it from, had that all set up. They took all the trees out, and they took out where they already did the perk test for the sewer system. Because he took all the trees out, now they said that perk isn't legal anymore. Because when you take all the trees out, it changes the land. And he said, next DNR said that might not perk. So when they did their study up here, they did it with the trees all up, right?
For perk test or? Well,
When they
yeah.
did the drillings and all that.
They didn't
stuff.
do much studies. I mean, there wasn't much done.
All these trees, when they
Physical.
already clear cut a bunch of trees, did that change stuff now?
They said in that report that of the 1,690 something acres of area to be cleared, already a few hundred acres have been cleared, and the owner of the property had already said he was going to harvest trees on another 600 and something acres by the end of next year, I believe. Again, there's a wealth of information in there to read. Finding the time to read a big, long document, nobody wants to do that, but I'm just saying you ought to do it because it'll raise your eyebrows.
Can you read it on the computer? If you go to the PSC site, it sounded like I could.
I don't know.
You can read through the whole application process and where they are. So it's not just, here's our application and they accept it. They go through all the criteria on that application, and then when they don't have enough information, PSC, when they don't have enough information that's answering their criteria, then they do an open records request to they do a records request to the contractor Nextera that provides an answer to the question that they're asking about whatever the criteria is. And the answers back from Nextera are pretty vague.
Yeah, they are.
I was reading through them.
But that's a different document than this one. This one
Yeah.
is already,
But this is a step-by-step
Right.
chronological, you can see chronologically where they are at in this process. It gives the dates of everything and what the responses are from, what the questions are from PSC, what the responses are from Nextera. You can see where they had all the public comment open, so that shows chronologically. It's a tab that you can click on and open it up, and it shows everything, and then you can click open each section of the questions that are in there, each section of the document that's in there.
And that's at the
That's on the
wisconsinpsc.gov.
website.
if you want a copy of it, I can probably forward that email to Wendy and print it.
Send it to
Yeah.
everybody.
I would love a printed copy.
I would too, because I'd like to highlight it,
Yeah,
I'd like
it's-
to mark
that'd
it.
be great.
There's multiple tabs in there, it talks about the project, what it is, and it goes into detail of where they are at chronologically in this process, where the PSC is in the process. It does show attorneys, stuff that's been filed, it's showing everything there in the chronological order.
Carl, I got another question, maybe this is for Stan, Meteor Timber is in a MFL. Did they sign a lease with Nextera? If they did, is that illegal if they're already in the Because they have to notify the release from,
I would imagine he's signing some kind of option, but I can have him look into it.
it's something to look into.
Yeah. I mean, if
About the
again,
penalties.
I wouldn't sign a lease if I didn't have assurance that I was getting the thing, so I would bet it's an option.
I think it's the start of the year, you gotta have, the start of the year that can take it out of MFL. It's not any time of the year, it's beginning of the year.
Beginning of, okay.
Yeah, I'll forward that to you guys all again, but I mean, you could go to the library or anybody and have it printed if you want to print it. And it's I don't know how many pages it is, but it's a good long read.
Okay.
That response you got from the NRDC, are we gonna reach out to anybody on that, or?
I looked at the other Wisconsin, the links that he gave me on that, and I looked at 3 or 4 of them, and they were either little itty bitty entities,
I looked at the one at Point.
or they were like not solar. They were specific to a particular type of.
What's the NRDC? I couldn't figure it out when I was reading your response.
Yeah, it was.
Natural Resources Defense Council.
Oh, yeah.
And the article I read that they had a lot of resources, so I thought now they're saying we don't have the resources to go. They're like, oh, good luck. Good luck to you.
The National Bar Association to reach out to attorneys specializing in environmental law. Pro bono.
Yeah, that was one in Chicago, the American Bar Association on Lakeshore Drive.
That's what I was trying to find, somebody that would handle the class action suit. And maybe it doesn't even have to be pro bono. If there's something to be paid to all of our woes, then maybe they could share in that. But I just think that revenue sharing is something that has some potential in terms of if they're gonna come here and they're gonna make money on our property and our eyesore and everything else and our risk, then we should share in that. Okay, anybody else? Any other action items we should think about?
Next meeting.
So you think then for the next meeting too, we should print that out or read it? I mean, I did look over it, but I need to reread that.
Yeah, it's a long
Like-
read. I read it on my computer where I could increase the font size and
Yeah.
everything, and then I'm highlighting as I go. 'cause-
And that's what I want to do. I want to print it out and read it.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe we should come back with, with questions. 'Cause I
So,
thi-
okay, that's good, that's good. So everybody read it and then come up with a few questions that you or more. And I'll highlight the thing and we can, maybe, I was thinking about putting it on the screen, but it's still a long it'd be a long meeting to do that. But I think getting prepared for the PSC would be very good. It's their document, so I think it's, and plus the one that Karen said where you could see, I looked at that early on. And that comment that I made to Carl, I said, did you see some of their responses? They're like vague. They're saying, yeah, we met with the snowmobile and the ATV club. Who?
Yeah.
What did they say when you met with them?
Yep. It just says they met. There's no other detail.
Yeah, talking about community outreach,
Yeah, they did.
Did they talk to Tom
Um,
or Brian or Brian Mayer,
no,
Tom Warner?
who's in charge of the trails?
Yeah,
Well, not now, but,
Scott.
yeah.
Tom Beal?
No, Scott Murphy, is
I don't
in
know
charge
about the
of.
ATVs.
And the only thing that he is he's extremely neutral because he really doesn't want to piss people off because if they say you're out of our, if it does go through, he's just like, well, it'll be like some of the other areas where we rode around, there were airports that came
Yeah,
in.
we like riding around the airport,
Yeah.
around the fence.
And how do you want to stay neutral on that? It's beyond me, but.
I don't understand that either.
Only because I don't, and it's not the sentiment. I mean, because if you anger them enough, I think is the sentiment. I don't know if that's true or not. They will cut you off and say, "Nope, we have no land for your trails." And then what happens is,
That's
all
the concern.
right because the UTV, the snowmobile trails in this state are connected. From north to south
Yeah,
and
the corridors.
corridors and if,
Corridor 21 runs through the whole state.
well,
Right, and
exactly.
that
And
is-
if they close part of that, you no longer can, get through, and that's a big deal. And there's other issues.
That is a big deal, because you can go from Illinois all the way up here, because we've done that on snowmobiles. But yeah, they have the power to do that, cut off the corridors.
Well, it's private land
They
that's
could,
going on.
because it's private land. Right now, we as a snowmobile club, we have to approach landowners, we have to get permission to landowners. We have to make sure that, we get the information out there as far as snowmobile club members saying, how to ride, to respect the landowners and stuff. But if you, piss them off, they can close it and say, no, our land will not be open.
I wonder if anybody's done any research on that, because if the state has a trail going through there, I would assume the state has an agreement with the property owners, and a lessee can't change that, probably.
I don't think the state has,
They wouldn't just run one through without some kind of agreement.
oh, no, but it's the,
Corridor 21 is state-run. They're
It is state-run. That's state-run.
the permission, because that goes from, you go all the way into Illinois on Corridor 21, which I have. You go all the way into Michigan.
Does 21 go through the site at all?
I think,
I'm trying to think. I know where it goes through. I've been on it, but I'm trying to think if it's on there.
I'm pretty sure it does over here. Over there too, yeah.
Well, it would be impactful to show a map of before and after.
I'll look
Here's
at
where the
some-
trails went, and
okay.
now they gotta go around this 8-foot or 10-foot high fence, however high it's supposed to be, probably so the deer.
They're not. I mean, they're not going to give you a corridor through the property. They're not going to put a no. You're either going to go on the ditches or something else that exists.
Anything else? We're still looking for a date. So that would be the week of the 19th is next week. Do we need to meet next week or the week after, either one?
I would say next week that we have to get information. Stan has to get his information in by the 27th of October, so he's got to get a report back to the PSC. So anything else we have to add, I'll be talking to him probably sometime during the week.
So what day is good for you guys?
Wednesdays are good.
Wednesday? Is that good for you, Denise? I thought there was a day. Denise? Is Wednesdays or Wednesdays are not good for you?
Just pick a day. I'm gonna try and be here because it's really important.
Okay, how about Wednesday then? That is the
22nd.
22nd.
Wait, the 22nd. What time?
10 o'clock work for everybody?
That's going to be the.
Karen, can you ask and see if anybody's got something scheduled?
We got the 5 o'clock. The budget committee reschedule on that day.
Here, I'll get it.
I was just gonna look on my calendar.
So 10 o'clock on 10/22. That doesn't conflict with anything, you guys?
Okay. And that's that same date, Carl, that you want to look at going to Adams County for that invite.
But your meeting's in the afternoon, right?
Vita, what time is your board meeting tonight?
5 o'clock?
5 o'clock?
I'll read it faster. I'll read everything faster.
You are true to your word.
You gotta get one of those guys who does the drug commercial with the fine print.
Well, I just think, you guys, thanks for coming, because I did, well, we have to adjourn first. Let's officially adjourn. I make a motion to officially adjourn this meeting.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. Do I hear a, I got it all.
Oh, 5 o'clock.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.